Have you ever found yourself thinking that life would be easier if you could just let go of control and allow things to flow? What if I told you that forcing things too much might be what's holding you back? The magic happens when you stop rowing against the current and begin sailing with it. There is hidden wisdom in not forcing, in following the natural flow of things, something that many do not understand, and few truly master. If you feel like you're always swimming against the tide, maybe it's time to discover a different path. Wu Wei, the art of not forcing, inspired by ancient Buddhist teachings. Here, you will learn how to stop exhausting yourself and start living in a lighter, more efficient way, full of wisdom. Many of us were raised with the idea that success only comes through relentless effort. Society values hard work, and soon we are conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to our accomplishments. However, in the constant pursuit of these ideals, we find ourselves trapped in a dangerous cycle, burnout. How many times have we heard stories of people who achieved everything materially, only to find themselves lost, without peace or purpose? This is an important reflection. It's not just about working harder, but about working wisely. This cycle of constant work makes us forget that there is a greater wisdom in knowing when to stop. There are moments when, no matter how much we push, things don't move forward. Forcing situations only increases the wear and tear, and with that comes stress and fatigue. In Buddhist teachings, the pursuit of balance is fundamental. Often, to move forward, we must accept that not everything depends on our effort. To breathe, step back, and see the bigger picture. Haven't we all been in this situation before? Imagine a simple scene, someone trying to open a jammed door, forcing it with all their strength. But perhaps, if they stop and observe calmly, they'll realize all it takes is to push the handle the other way. Wisdom and knowledge reveal themselves in those moments of pause when we stop fighting what seems unchangeable and begin to notice other possibilities. This is the beginning of the journey towards the next teaching, Wu Wei, the art of not forcing. The philosophy of Wu Wei, deeply rooted in Taoism, invites us to rethink how we relate to life. Contrary to the common belief that we must control and manipulate every aspect of our experiences, Wu Wei teaches that there is wisdom in allowing things to take their natural course. It's not about inertia or passivity, but about acting harmoniously with the universe, recognizing that sometimes the most powerful action is, paradoxically, the absence of effort. In this sense, Buddhist teachings on acceptance align perfectly with this view. Imagine, for example, being in a situation where everything seems out of control. The immediate reaction is to try to fix it, to solve, to force things back to what we believe is right. However, the philosophy of Wu Wei reminds us that, often, by trying to control too much, we interfere with the natural flow of events, causing more friction than solutions. How many times, by stopping and letting the situation unfold on its own, do the answers we seek become clearer? There is deep wisdom in trusting the process. Wu Wei is like navigating a river without fighting the current. It doesn't mean you'll never row, but it does mean you'll know when it's the right time to act and when it's better to just flow. The knowledge accumulated throughout life, along with Buddhist teachings, guides us to understand that the universe has its own order. And by aligning our actions with that order, we discover a lighter, more effective way of living. Now, continuing along this line, think about how nature can teach us more about this harmony. Nature, in its essence, operates effortlessly. It offers us a profound teaching: everything has its time and place, and force is rarely necessary. Think of a river running through the mountains. It doesn't need to crash against the rocks, but simply flows around them, finding the path of least resistance. This smooth and continuous flow is a clear example of how we should approach our lives. Instead of forcing our will against obstacles, there is wisdom in observing, adapting, and flowing. In this way, knowledge manifests in the little things, in the details life presents to us. In our routine, we often face challenges that seem insurmountable. We may spend hours, days, maybe even years, fighting against those stones in the path. But if we stop to reflect and look around, we can see that there are other paths that may not require as much resistance. Like in nature, where each element finds its own rhythm, we can learn to follow the flow of life. Buddhist teachings invite us to see beyond immediate difficulty and recognize that each obstacle can be an opportunity to grow, without the need to exhaust our strength. The next time you feel cornered, remember the river that doesn't fight the stones. It simply follows its course, patiently. This metaphor from nature helps us see that, often, the secret lies in accepting what we cannot change and focusing on what we can influence. And here we begin to realize that excessive effort can be replaced by smarter movement. The next step is to understand the balance between effort and surrender, and how that can transform our journey in surprising ways. The balance between effort and surrender is an art that few master, but one that brings profound wisdom to those willing to learn. Often, we are led to believe that success always depends on relentless dedication, as if we must always fight. However, Buddhist teachings invite us to reflect: is it always necessary to give everything, at any cost? Wu Wei teaches us that the secret is in acting at the right moment and stepping back when necessary, avoiding wasted energy and emotional drain. In practical situations, this might mean knowing when to invest in a project and when to step back and observe the bigger picture. Think, for example, of someone trying to launch a new business. Working hard is important, of course, but there will be moments when forcing decisions can lead to failure. Instead, listening to the market, studying trends, and knowing when to wait for opportunities is what separates strategic intelligence from mere effort. Knowledge applied intelligently is the real difference. Just as a tightrope walker must constantly adjust their weight to avoid falling, we too must find that point of balance between effort and acceptance. Knowing when to stop is just as valuable as knowing when to continue. And in this wisdom, we find a lighter path, without the strain of fighting uncontrollable tides. This balance allows us to see that not everything depends on us, and that the universe has its own rhythm. Now, the next challenge is accepting that life is, indeed, unpredictable and that control is an illusion. Life, in its essence, is unpredictable. No matter how much we strive to plan every detail, the truth is that there will always be elements beyond our control. This is something that Buddhist teachings constantly remind us of. Accepting uncertainty is part of wisdom. We can prepare ourselves, dedicate ourselves, but there are factors such as others' choices, unexpected events, and even natural conditions that alter our paths. Forcing life to fit into our rigid plans is a recipe for frustration. Wu Wei, on the other hand, teaches us to navigate this uncertainty with ease. Think of someone facing a sudden career change. They may have planned every step, but then, out of nowhere, an economic crisis changes everything. In that moment, the temptation to fix things and force solutions is great. However, wisdom lies in recognizing that certain aspects are beyond one's control. By accepting this reality, they can focus on what can be done, adapting, seeking new opportunities, learning something new. The practical knowledge here is to understand that flexibility is the key to navigating life's turbulent waters. Accepting unpredictability doesn't mean resignation or passivity, but rather an attitude of readiness and openness to what comes. When we let go of the reins and trust the process, we realize that the universe tends to guide us down paths we may not have foreseen, but that can lead us exactly where we need to be. This prepares us for the next reflection. When we stop rowing against the current, we can begin to navigate more efficiently and perhaps even with more joy. Alan Watts, with his unique wisdom, brought forth a fascinating analogy that compares rowing against the current to sailing with the wind. Rowing, according to him, is the perfect example of how excessive effort can be counterproductive. Often, we put all our strength into something, only to discover that in the end, we haven't moved forward. Sailing, on the other hand, is intelligent action. You align with nature, adjust your sails, and allow the wind, or the flow of life, to carry you. This is the knowledge Wu Wei offers, knowing when to use force and when to trust the current. Imagine the feeling of rowing incessantly, with each stroke feeling more exhausting than the last. This brings to mind the lives of many people who, despite working tirelessly, always feel drained, as if fighting against something invisible. Watt's analogy encourages us to pause and reflect. Perhaps the secret lies in learning to adjust the sails, in other words, to align with the opportunities that arise, rather than insisting on a path that drains us. The wisdom here is in allowing life to collaborate with us, rather than insisting on controlling everything. When you sail, you use the available resources efficiently, making the most of what nature offers. This is the essence of Wu Wei and Buddhist teachings, doing less, but in a more strategic way. And this brings us to the next concept, which finds parallels in a profoundly wise martial art, Judo. Just like sailing, Judo teaches us to use force at the right moment, avoiding unnecessary wear. In Judo, the principle of using force strategically and with precision is fundamental. It's not about applying force at every moment, but knowing when and how to act. This wisdom closely resembles the concept of Wu Wei, where unnecessary effort is avoided in favor of efficient and directed action. In Judo, a well-executed move only occurs when the opponent is off balance, and in that moment, the least amount of force can create the greatest impact. In this way, knowledge is transformed into power when used at the right time. This philosophy can be applied to everyday life in practical ways. Think of a work discussion. Many times, we try to argue and insist on our point of view, but fail to notice that the other side is still resistant. Forcing a result may create more friction than progress. However, if we wait for the right moment, when the other side is open and receptive, our intervention can be much more effective. Buddhist teachings also guide us in this direction, helping us to identify the right moment to act, with wisdom and patience. This strategy of using force efficiently, rather than constantly, teaches us to value the quality of action, not quantity. Doing less, but at the exact right time, can be much more powerful than acting all the time. It's a balance many ignore, but those who master it reap the rewards of a more productive life with less strain. And as we begin to trust this process more, we approach the next step, fully trusting ourselves and what the path has in store for us. Trusting the process is one of the most challenging yet rewarding teachings we can learn. In situations like a job interview or a big presentation, it's common to want to control every detail, rehearse every word, as if that would guarantee the perfect outcome. However, Wu Wei teaches us that true power lies in trusting our preparation, our skills, and above all, the natural process of life. The more we cling to the need for control, the more we move away from the natural flow, and ironically, the harder it becomes to achieve what we desire. Imagine walking into an important interview. You've already prepared, studied what you needed, but now it's time to trust. Instead of trying to impress at all costs, the true secret is to be authentic, to be present, and to respond according to what the moment asks for. The knowledge you've accumulated throughout your life is what truly matters, and it manifests naturally when we are relaxed and confident. This is how Buddhist teachings encourage us to act, with trust in ourselves and without forcing situations. Trusting the process also means accepting that we don't always have control over the immediate outcome. Sometimes, what seems like failure at first glance may open unexpected doors down the line. So, when you enter any situation, remember that you've done your best, and now it's time to let things flow. This prepares us for the next teaching, the power of detaching from the outcome and allowing life to take its course. Letting go of control is one of the most liberating lessons we can learn. Often, we become attached to specific results, believing that happiness or success will only come if things go exactly as planned. But by doing so, we limit our possibilities and create expectations that, when unmet, lead to suffering. Buddhist teachings, like Wu Wei, encourage us to release this need for control, allowing life to unfold in ways we might not have imagined. True knowledge lies in accepting that we do not control everything, but we can align with the natural flow. Think of the process of taking care of a plant. You can water it, make sure it has enough light and good soil, but you can't force it to grow. If you become obsessed with making it bloom faster, you'll only exhaust your energy without changing its natural cycle. Life is much the same. There are things beyond our hands, and by insisting on controlling them, we lose the beauty of what could be. Letting go of the outcome doesn't mean giving up on your dreams, but trusting that the universe has a perfect timing for everything. When we free ourselves from this need for control, we create space for the unexpected, for the new. Life offers us opportunities we may never have considered, and by letting go of the rigidity of our plans, we begin to notice these opportunities more clearly. It is in this openness that the true power of living fully and aligned resides. And now, as we talk about letting go, we arrive at the central point, the power of surrendering, of trusting and accepting what the present has to offer. Surrender. This word may sound strange in a society that values action and control so much, but the power of surrendering to the present moment is one of the greatest teachings we can absorb. When we surrender, we are not giving up. We are, in fact, accepting life as it is, without trying to mold it to our relentless desires. It is in this act of surrender that we find true peace. When we stop fighting against the currents of life, we begin to flow with it, and that's when the universe can surprise us with paths and solutions we never considered. Imagine someone who spends their entire life trying to control everything, the people around them, their work, their future. This person constantly lives in a state of anxiety, always worried about what might go wrong. But by learning the power of surrender, they begin to realize that not everything needs to be under their control. Instead of worrying about what might happen, they start living the present more fully. Buddhist teachings show us that by letting go of this obsession with control, we create space for wisdom and knowledge to naturally manifest in our lives. When you surrender to the present, you become more productive, more serene, and paradoxically, more capable of achieving your goals. Surrender allows us to see that we don't need to carry the world on our shoulders to live well. Trusting the process and accepting what life brings gives us a sense of freedom. And with this freedom comes the realization that everything you're seeking is already within you. So, how about applying this knowledge to your daily life? Go with the flow, let things happen naturally, and watch how your life can transform. By trusting the process and surrendering to the moment, you open doors to new opportunities and unexpected paths. Life doesn't have to be a constant battle, it can be a harmonious flow where you reap the rewards of your actions with less effort and more wisdom. Take a moment to observe how you've been acting lately. Which areas of your life need less control and more trust? Isn't it time for you to change the way you handle your challenges? Stop forcing things, trust more, and see the difference it can make. And of course, if you want to keep diving into this ocean of knowledge and Buddhist teachings, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you won't miss any new content that will help you live more lightly and wisely.